All right, we're all good. All good. Okay. So great time to talk about this. This is hopeful approval of the non-motorized plan, which is our 2025 active transportation plan. This was approved by our technical advisory committee 2 weeks ago. So we're looking for the same from policy, but I just wanted to run through a few slides to highlight some of the main 30,000 foot view items in here that I think are very important. So as you can see, that's our mission, our vision statement for the document. And then we as a group came up with 5 priorities for the MACC, things we're going to be pushing in the next few years. So the first thing, addressing the field deficiencies we found when we were out rating the pass. So these are pretty easy things, most of them to take care of. Things like pooling water, tree roots might be a little more difficult to take care of those. So ponding water, some paths were actually underwater. There's a lot of erosion on some of them, runner grasses, etc. So that would be the first priority that we're going to push, probably the easiest one out of the 5. Second would be to repave all 1 and 2 rated paths. So these are poor and very poor paths around the area, and there's a map attached to this. So 7% of the system is rated as poor or very poor in the area. And of course, we're going to push for urbanized areas first because they generally have more users. Third would be application of pavement markings and safety enhancements. So as you can see, the red dots are street crossings that do not have any crosswalk paint. So that would be something easy. We'll of course work with the road commission and the local municipality where those take place. So I want to say it's like 30% don't have paint. So this is important, of course. If you're riding a bike, motorists are aware that there's a bike path there or a sidewalk. And you can see it's really in the rural areas where you have a lot of these that aren't painted. So I know that whole Beeline Trail going through Lake Town, I don't think there's much paint down there, 147th. So, and again, we've reached out to all the municipalities to talk about this stuff through our follow-up meetings afterwards. And then we've identified a few locations that are probably going to need a hawk signal or a rapid flashing beacon for safety. Fourth would be closing the system gaps. So we've prioritized these into low, medium, and high priority. So red would be high priority. And then some of the gaps that we saw. So of course the east-west connector in Holland is very important. They just stop kind of near the city limits most of the time. So really it's getting people through Holland and Zeeland, the actual city propers, which would be pretty high priorities for us. And then also on here you'll see some hawk and rapid flashing beacon location suggestions. We kind of prioritized US Bike Route 35, which many of you are aware goes from Grand Haven, well actually it starts in Sault Ste. Marie, but in our area it starts at the Grand Haven Port Sheldon Township line and goes all the way down to Saugatuck Township, Lake Town Township line, down by Dunes U gas station down there. So this is like our interstate highway through our region. So we're kind of starting here to suggest some enhancements along the corridor. Really the main areas where there's a lot of hiccups would be the river, Pine, right by the river, the bridge, the Unity Bridge up there. So, and then getting through Holland. So I actually did a sign audit on Thursday. I drove the entire route and counted the signs and what they said. And we need a lot more signs, I'll just tell you that right now. I think we have 20 signs total, 20 or 30. And you're talking, this thing is, if you're talking both directions, it's probably 70 miles. So just like an interstate highway, you need your confirmation signs to tell the walker or the biker, hey, you're going north on this bike route, or you're going south, or it turns here, that kind of stuff. So I have all that kind of eked out. That'll be a separate document. Fifth priority would be widening 7 and 8 foot wide paths. So 8 foot is the AASHTO standard unless there's a path on both sides of the road, then it would be a 6 foot standard. Of course, we will prioritize the urbanized areas first. Generally have most of the users. So there's a map there. So 24 miles of the system, just over 10% is 6 or 7 foot wide. So for this plan, we did a lot of outreach. We met with all the members, either in person, most of them in person, some by email, like the road commissions. We held 2 open houses. We had a public comment period for a month. So we had the 2 open houses. One was in Zeeland on March 5th and one in Holland on March 19th. So we had 34 attendees between the 2, which we were pretty impressed with. So some of the things that we received from the public would be reverting some of the more underused paths to pea gravel or limestone, improving the wayfinding along the pass, starting of course with US Bike Route 35 and then going down to the regional trails. Interpretive signs, so things like history, unique facts, cultural things, and then kind of pushing the local municipalities to adopt the plan. And really not underselling our area to tourists. I mean, as we all know, if you're spending thousands of dollars on a bicycle, you have a lot of disposable income to spend in our community. So I think we should really capture that a little better. And then, of course, the proverbial no safe crossing over the business loop, US 31 or 196. I'm not going to go over all these, but our area is growing. Everything's been mapped and inventoried. We have over 500 miles of bike lanes, sidewalks, side paths, wide paved shoulders, over 4 feet or over, I mean. So priority again would be US Bike Route 35, and then the regional trails. I think speed limit signs and wayfinding signs are really high up for a lot of the municipalities that we talk to, getting all in the same system. So a lot of people don't know when they're crossing municipal lines. So I think having one standard sign would be really good for our area. So MACC Transit, 20% of the bus stops that were currently, so they're current bus stops, that's what we use for analysis. So 20% of those don't have a concrete waiting pad or a sidewalk or side path near them. So I always go back to middle of January, snow everywhere, how's someone getting to work? What can we do to maybe enhance their trip on the bus? So again, we want to stress the equity and access to all the things that make our area great. So the parks, the nature, having access to groceries, medical, major employers, etc. This top statistic shocked me a little bit. So about half of the large employers, which have over 100 employees, don't have access to a MACC Transit bus stop or a sidewalk or side path or bike lane. So that's something as a region we really have to figure out. I mean, the first step out of poverty is getting a good job and being able to get to your work. So, and we thank Lakeshore Advantage for providing the list of employers. So for crashes, there were 623 crashes, the past 10 years of recordable data that we found. So 21 fatalities and 84 serious injuries. So that is, you're leaving in an ambulance from the scene of the accident. So we can do better there. We're 11% higher than the statewide average. And another big thing would be ADA plates at all the railroad crossings. I think only half have ADA plates. So those are those tactile, I think it's Tough Tile is the brand that we use. They're metal plates. Yeah, so we had to standardize the state data per 100,000 residents. And we have just over 100,000, so we just interpolated pretty much that data, if that makes sense. So I checked the numbers with Luke Walters, and our MDOT representative, and he said they were good. So.
They're not data on miles driven?
No, it's just based on population. Yeah. So yeah, you could get real into the weeds if you really wanted to dive further in to the data, but we kept it pretty basic just based on population.
When you talk about railroad crossing, that's not CSX's responsibility, that's ours?
It's the municipality, yeah. Is that correct? I think it's the municipality, yeah.
Are the connections localized or are they more spread out?
So the pedestrian ones are more, they're on a lot of arterial roads. They're more in the urban areas. And of course you have a better chance of survival on a bike. I don't have the maps with me, but generally they're kind of more in the populated areas. Yeah.
Specific intersections more so than others, or?
It's kind of all over the place. Yeah, I wish I had the map with me because I could show you guys. But, it is in the document. There's a couple maps in there. Okay. Those pictures have nothing to do with, I just thought they were nice and we took them. So Belt here on the left and window on the waterfront on the right from last year. So we plan on rating all the side paths every other year. So next year we'll go out again and we're going to build the database and it'll help direct the non-motorized funds to the appropriate projects. We are in discussion internally about rating some of the shared use paths. So that would be like the Upper MACC Trail, window on the waterfront, pathway, things like that. And then this plan will be updated every 5 years. So 2030 is the next time for this. I will be happy to answer any questions. This document's online right now and it is in print in our office. So after hopeful approval, I'll make an appendix and then I can put it to bed for a while. But this was a major undertaking. We received no help from consultants, so this was all in-house. We developed this whole plan, so we're pretty proud of it, I would say.
Nice job. Eric spent a lot of time on this, so.
Probably too much. Nights, weekends, whatever, you know.
Couldn't
My
be
wife's
more
like, what are you
impressed.
doing at 9 o'clock? Working on this plan. I said, it's got to be done.
Got to get it done.
So,
Yeah, so just that quick recap, 2014 was the last time that the MACC did that plan, and we were supposed to update it in 2019. That was the loose commitment that was in that plan. And if I'm not mistaken, that was over a $200,000 contract to a consultant to get that done, and that's in 2014 dollars. So to be able to get this done with this team, Eric leading that charge, well done. Well done.
this is our first try at it, our first stab. Of course, the next one will be better, but we think this one's pretty good so far.
Yeah. I think it's state of the art. I think this is what other communities are going to use to benchmark, because it has the data, it has the information, and it really does help the users, the members, whoever owns the system, helps kind of direct their next, prioritize their purchases.
Yeah,
Going
I actually had a full head of hair before I started this.
Yeah.
That's what happened. And no gray either. You know, I was looking young, but
So Eric, with this,
yes.
if we adopt this individually as this, we adopt this like the city of Zeeland and Holland. So does that help the cities and the townships get grants if we adopt this plan, or does it or is it better that helps you guys get more grants?
I think both of us.
Both?
Yeah, because I think it gives it more weight if the municipalities adopt it as well. And I want to add, we incorporated elements from all the existing municipal plans as well. So Holland has one, Zeeland has one, I think Zeeland Township and Holland Township has one as well. So, and elements from a master plan if they included non-motorized language. So we really did research everything that we could. MDOT too, we have some stuff from your Grand Region Plan. So I think grants, yes, absolutely. And then more funding possibly from federal CPG money. We can direct more resources to this.
Good.
So I think it'd be a good thing for the municipalities to adopt.
Eric, I think you've done a commendable job of gathering data. To me, an active transportation plan builds on that and says, here's how we solve the problems. For example, with accidents and fatalities for bicyclists and pedestrians, is there a next step where we analyze each of the individual incidents and try to figure out what we could do better to improve that or keep it from happening again?
Yeah, we could do that. That is going to be a lot of work, and I'm up for the challenge. I mean, I like to be on the ground and figure out what's going on. We're actually doing our intersection analysis too. So any signalized intersection in our region that has a sidewalk or side path on one of the corners will be analyzed for countdowns, general safety, paint, everything like that. So that's in the process. We've already done half of them. And that includes flying a drone over 50 meters to get that bird's eye view of the intersection too.
And we do have our safety action plan as well. That's
Yeah.
the nice thing about both of these, complement one another, because we do know where our high injury network is. We do know our high injury intersections as well. So with that baseline data, now you can start, focusing on those particular intersections. And obviously, that's up to the road owner and their design team, their traffic safety engineers. But at least you have the data, and we can say, here's a concentration of accidents, whether it's pedestrian, bicycle, or just vehicular, and you can start making, what's the right thing to do. And we did that for the safety action plan. We gave some. Here's an intersection improvement example. Here's another intersection improvement example that has safety benefit if it were implemented. We're not saying you have to implement it, but at least it's starting that process so it gets people thinking and analyzing.
And the intersection analysis will include crash data as well. So anything that happened within, let's just say 100 feet of that intersection will be kind of analyzed. So we can dive into those. It's just clicking the UD10 report from the state and figuring out maybe the factors that cause that. So, and you can sort all the data. It's just a lot of data. I mean, I want to say there were 33,000 crashes in our region in the past 10 years. So there's just a lot of data to sift through, and it's prioritizing your workload, So, but I have time now that I'm done with this, so maybe I can hop into the this is all encompassing. It really was for quite a while. So, any other questions, comments from anyone?
All right,
Then
so
we
we're
would
looking
just
for
be
that
looking
motion.
for approval.
Make a motion to approve the 2025 active transportation plan as presented.
All right. We got support. Any final questions, comments? All right, all in favor, respond by saying aye. Aye. All right, opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Nice job.